Welcome. It's 5 o'clock now, and I am always wanting everybody to be punctual. So we'll get ready to have our talk. So here we go. Thank you all for coming, and welcome to the library's 14th book talk. My name is Victoria Kaplan, and I am a librarian here, and I'll also be moderating this session. We're very pleased and very privileged to have Professor Jianxiong here to talk about his new book, The Lahu Minority in Southwest China, a response to ethnic marginalization on the frontier. And that's right here. It's very popular. We had to recall it to have a look at it. And in fact, after this talk, it's going back to the hold shelf because somebody else has requested it. Okay, it was recently published by Routledge, and the Chinese version, which is here, which will be available on the shelves very, very soon, probably within a couple of days, was published by the Chinese University Press. This talk is also very timely because on March 12th, we'll be hosting a photography exhibit on the peoples and cultures of Western China. So please mark your calendars for that. That should be also quite interesting. We will also, in March, have a collection highlights about ethnic minorities in China. So just a couple of words about Professor Ma. Professor Ma developed his interest in anthropology growing up in Yunnan in southwest China. He got his MA degree in ethnology from the Yunnan National Minorities University, and he is a double HKUST graduate with both an MPhil and a PhD in UST. So we're very proud of that as well. His research interests include ethnicity, kinship, the anthropology of borderlands, and ethnic minorities in China and in Highland Southeast Asia. And as an assistant professor in the Division of Humanities, this spring he's teaching HUMA 2621, Culture and Environment, that explores how environment and culture work on each other. So thank you very much, and please welcome Dr. Ma.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Thank you very much for our library colleagues. And thank you very much, Barry, my supervisor here. Thank you for your coming. I actually grew up in UST and grew up in this library, so it's my great honor here to present my book, but actually it's an opportunity to me to represent what I did in last 15 years here in UST. So it's my great honor today, and thank you very much for friends or students who can come to join with us. And if you have any questions, just raise your hand. I will try my best to explain. My topic is about this book published by Routledge. And before that, I will introduce the Lahu people, because Lahu as an ethnic group is just one of the relatively smaller than very famous ethnic groups like in China. But the population of ethnic minorities in China account about just 8.49% based on the census in 2010. So even if the population size of ethnic minority in China is relatively small, but the occupation of the territory is really large, more than 60 China's territory occupied by those minority autonomous regions, like Inner Mongolia, like Xinjiang, and like Tibet, and Yunnan, and Guizhou, and Guangxi provinces, or ethnic autonomous regions. So Yunnan, among those ethnic minorities, provinces, and autonomous regions, is the most ethnically diverse province, with its population about 45.9 million, and ethnic minorities in Yunnan is about 15.33 million, or about 33.37% of its population in this province. But among those minority people, more than 470,000 Lahu people living in Yunnan. But considering about the population size, There are also some Lahu people living in Thailand, Laos, Burma, and Vietnam. The number will be about 700,000 people in the world. There are Lahu people, but amongst them, some 60% are living in Yunnan, and about 29%. Sorry, I got mistake here. Living in Burma, and about just 9% living in northern Thailand. So the remain 2% of them living in Laos and Vietnam. And because the Lahu people share a common Lahu identity, they call themselves as Lahu Ya. So it means Lahu people. So that's why even if in Burma, in Thailand, and in China, they get identity of the Lahu people, and Chinese government gives them official title as Lahu nationality, Lahu Zu. So in general, the majority of the Lahu is in Yunnan, and relatively smaller group living in Thailand. And so that is the very general background of the Lahu people in the world. So through this map, we can say that even if the minority population in China is just occupy more than 8% in Chinese population, but the minority autonomous region occupied more than 60% of China's territory, from Inner Mongolia to Xinjiang and Tibet and Yunnan and Guizhou and Guangxi provinces. So more than half of China's territory occupied by ethnic minority autonomous regions and provinces. So the pictures shows the Lahu people, and about my topic in this book is seriously about the relationship between the Lahu as an ethnic minority and the majority of the Han Chinese, because in the area where I did fieldwork amongst the Lahu people, I find that even if the population size in the county where the Lahu concentrate, there are more than 211 Lahu people, account for 43% of the population. The population size of this county, the Lancang County, the Lancang Lahu Autonomous County, is about 500,000 residents, but only 12 among the 12 top officers in this county, there are only 2 to 3 officers are Lahu people. That means even if the Lahu population occupied more than 40%, even if this county is a Lahu autonomous region, autonomous county, but the Lahu officers just occupied less than 10%. So what is the problem and why? I want to discover and why to try to analyze the relationship between the Han majority and the Lahu in this area, and why it had maintained for a long time. So another issue is about the theories property of the Lahu people. With the personal income in 2007, in this county, more than 300,000 people, their total income for the year just below than 200 RMB. So that means in each month, their incomes less than $100 per month. And some of them are much worse than that. More than 100 people, their income per year lower than 68 yuan per year. So what happened and why? So this book is focusing on the relationship between the Han majority and ethnic minority, especially about the elites, educated people, cadres, and the policy of the state. So I will introduce the outline of this book, in the first chapter, I just try to introduce very basic general information about ethnic minority as a Lahu in this area. And chapter 2, I explain the social relationship, social change in the area where I did fieldwork. I call it Black River Valley. And since 1920s, some elements, including geographic, demographic, historical conditions, are considered as a set of social and ecological conditions of the Lahu people because they moved from other part of Yunnan in the middle part of Yunnan and then to eastern part of Yunnan, cross the Mekong River, because they were driven away by the Qing officers and the Qing armies, and they were driven away into a relatively remote area and poor area. So after that, Lahu political system established by some, mobilized by some escaped monks based on certain religious movements. And after that, the Qing government is destroyed this system. And the purpose of this movement and this occupation by the Qing army, because the Qing want to draw the borderline between China and Burma, because British colonialists occupied Upper Burma. So based on this movement, the Qing government want to destroy those monk-established Lahu system. So this historical framework set up the relationship between the Han Chinese and the Lahu minority. So in chapter 3, I describe the supernatural world of the Lahu people. Take the case of the Bang village, where I did long-term ethnographic research, which linked with everyday life, with the religion's belief, values, and gender ideal. And this structure sets a family, kinship, communal and ethnic relationships dynamically into a cultural framework. Therefore, social conflict and psychological pressures about family relationships and identities developed in this cultural environmental sphere, as well as a system of symbolic interpretation. So this chapter deals with the symbolic and cultural value of the Lahu people in this valley. So later in chapter 4, I explain the relationship between the two worlds based on the Lahu value system or religious belief. The kinship system is based on parallel importance of married couples' relatives, because based on the ideal of gender equality, because in Lahu society, people believe that male and female are equal, just the moon and the sun are equal, river and mountain are equal, and trees and bamboos are equally pairs. So based on this ideal of gender equality, everything just becomes pairs. Based on that, the kinship system and the family organization is just also developed based on this parallel kinship system. So due to gender equality ideals, all couples are equal to each other in communal affairs. So the egalitarian kinship system should rely on a religion's authority for communal organization and political mobilization. In this case, a social system based on parental and non-hierarchical kinship established its authority through religious movements in history, but the collapse of authority also because the Qing government occupation and attack. So this collapse also destroys the authority system among the Lahu. So communal authority over the equal couples established when the traditional elections for village hand were abolished based on the endless historical transformation from 1880s to 1920s and then to 1950s. In chapter 5, I discuss the one-way migration between Lahu women and the Han area, because based on a lot of pressure, especially based on the gender cruiser, more and more Lahu women were trafficked by middlemen network and moved those Lahu women to Shandong and Henan province to become wives of those Han and peasants. So this problem creates a serious problem for Lahu people, because more and more Lahu women left the hometown, the remaining Lahu men cannot find their wives, and more Lahu men just committed suicide because there is a social problem, lacking of enough female population. So this marriage migration enhanced the discourse about the Lahu and the Han as two categories in the local power structure, as the Han are much advanced, higher than the Lahu, and which has created atmosphere for Lahu women for living is better, because you were always looked down by the Han people. You also regard yourself as much backward compared with Han people. So why we just move? Why we just get out from our hometown to find a place to resettle ourselves? So those Lahu women just moved out, resettled in Henan and Shandong province and Zhejiang province, everywhere. So in this case, the relationship between husband and wives are theoretically bounded with the share of farming land based on Lahu tradition. But because the problem of the left of the female population, the conflict between husband and wife, between male and female, become more and more worse. So in chapter 6, I will discuss the policy of poverty reduction and education. So later I will introduce this chapter talking about why the policy of poverty is so significant to reshape Lahu's identity as ethnic minority in China, based on the state policy and based on people's thinking about poverty reduction. And the residents are required to merge this project because the state issued a lot of resources, asked for local government to provide the merged part in the reduction or poverty reduction movement or projects. So the government tried to push minority people to cooperate with governmental officers to perform what they want. So that is a problem to push Lahu people to continuing reconfirm the Lahu identity as backward people, as very ignorance people. So those movement also theoretically reshaped the identity of the Lahu people. So those everyday practice become performance or demonstration of the dualism ethnicity between the advanced Han and backward and ignorance Lahu. So the unusual high ratio of suicide of the Lahu society in the Black River Valley and the nearby area is the most important social consequence of ethnic marginalization. It is a part of cultural response toward unusual threat. So this is a main point of this book. So chapter 7 explores the fact of the Lahu system based on the structure of couple equality and equal property rights. But because the lack and because living of the female population, the conflict between male and female become worse. And because the problem of endless poverty reduction project, more and more social pressure and psychological pressure make more and more Lahu people commit suicide. And the very unusual higher suicide rate makes the community of the Lahu facing a serious problem. So for example, in only 1 year, more than 10 cases of community suicide happened in this village. So based on this movement, I will try to explain there is a kind of collective imagination about the world of the death spread with trafficking of alcoholism, women's resettlement, and suicide. It has become a crucial cultural response and social mechanism to ethnic marginalization. So it is a way to understand why, based on Lahu religious belief framework, more and more people are willing to commit suicide, because it could be a way for them to move from this world to another world, to living in the world of the death, because they cannot afford the pressure in this world. So it is a kind of cultural mechanism of response, the pressure outside from the outside their community, because rapid change of, for example, modernization, commercialization, and a lot of state-issued resources based on poverty reduced movement. So it is a way to understand why the Lahu society changed and why the cultural value rapidly changed towards a direction of community suicide. So in general, social change in last several decades have seriously reshaped frontier society like Lahu, and the hierarchy between the Lahu and the Han settlers has been constructed through history. And internal social tensions and the pressures of Lahu communities gradually developed, and a serious belief provided an interpretation framework for social tension among Lahu villagers. And the family and kinship are interpreted with cropland property rights, and this system also changed a lot because the living of the women and population size. And the environment of a marriage squeeze, cultural encounter between Han and the Lahu have provided a channel for Lahu women to be resettled in other provinces like in Shandong and Henan province to become the wife of the Han. So this resettlement could be understood as a response to the identity border, but it is practiced only by the native Lahu women and cooperate with Lahu men following on their style of response based on the framework of religious belief. So local officers and teachers, many are Han Chinese, served as local agent of state power to push Lahu villagers to participate into the endless project to confirm a self-denying image of a backward, poor, and ignorant Lahu people, minority people, compared with the Han, advanced Han. Under the pressure of being Lahu, some people want to resettle themselves away from the world of living into the world of the death through the way of committing suicide. And some women just resettle themselves from the Lahu area to become the wives of the Han Chinese. And some of them still there, but they just are suffering in the alcoholism, become drunk every day. So the native Han people have practiced or hijacked the political opportunity and economic resources of the Lahu people issued by the state. That is why those opportunities always controlled by native Han cadres or educated Han elite. So the administrative hierarchy of local affairs is being run by a group of educated Han people or Han elite, but in certain cases, the Han people can hijack Lahu identity. They can change the identity based on ID card. Go to the police station to change the household registration to become the Lahu. So they will become the Lahu cadre, but they are Han Chinese. So, yeah, so it's just a way to understand the process. So that is, this map shows the area of the Lahu in Yunnan province on the border between Yunnan and Burma. So this map shows the location where I did fieldwork. So I visited those regions where the Lahu inhabited. I did fieldwork in this region, in Burma, and in northern Thailand, and in southern western Yunnan area along the rivers. So I went to Thailand in Chiang Mai area, did fieldwork among the Lahu, and also did fieldwork in the northern part of Lahu residential area in Linchang region. Some of them still practice very traditional style of the system. So I spent more than 15 years for long-term anthropological participation observation in this village, starting on the Lahu. So when I first time to visit this village, all of the houses, just grass houses, but now the landscape changed a lot because the government issued a lot of resources, rebuilt the house, helped the villagers to develop the local economy. So first time you cannot recognize it myself. When I was just graduated from college. I went to this village to start my anthropological study when I worked in a library. So it was 50 years ago. And this lovely boy, he is one of my most good friends, and his mother told me that he looks like your son. Just I tell the mother that I cannot fit it because I'm still. But now this boy become a father. So we just met in Kunming. I guide, but it was another sad story. I will not talk about this story now. But now he is a father. So we just met last month in Kunming. And the valley of the Lahu area where I did field work since 1995. And there are more than 1,300 villagers living in this village. They share more than 1,000 mu rice fields. There are about 300 households. So the everyday life just like this. So when I did field work, I have to join with them to participate into the everyday activities. So it's a farming land. And through this picture, we can say that it is really important to help us to understand the farming land property system, because the parents have to share the pieces of land to the children if any one of the children getting married. So only if those farming land become a very small pieces, the parents can easily share the farming land with the children once the children are getting married. And this environmental condition also provided the framework of family farming land dividing system. So it is a funeral process. We can find that people practice a way to divide a family into two parts. One in the world of the dead, another is just in the world of the living. So draw the map, and we can find that in Lahu society, people get a kind of gender blind in childhood. You cannot easily find the gender characteristics between boys and girls. They play, boys and girls play together. They are trying to ignore the gender differences. So the family is based on this system. So through this way, we can find that if a family divided, if the children want to get married, the parents have to share the family land property with the children. For example, if this boy want to get married with this girl, and this family have to share piece of land to support newly married couple. So it is a system based on gender equality, especially for those property systems for farming land. So we can easily find that the Lahu practice a way of gender equality, and they also established the kinship system based on a couple. For example, the husbands, sisters and brothers, and wives, sisters and brothers become a very important fundamental kinship group to support those couples in the farming labor. So kinship group based on marriage established after the marriage, and one couple could not afford all tasks, for example, in irrigated rice farming, but they can get the support or exchange of labor exchange from the relatives. But this relative network established after the getting married. And another important idea for the Lahu society based on their cultural value is the idea of a pair of world. If people living in the world of the living here, After the death, the souls will be sent back to the world of the living, and living there for one life. And then they will die. And after they died, the soul will come back to be reborn as animals, insects, and then again to become the soul of rice. After you eat rice, parents will give birth to children. So life always cycling between the world of the living and the world of death. That is why, based on a cultural value framework, Lahu people are not scared about committing suicide. It is a kind of centralized Buddhist idea, because during the history when the Lahu get involved into religious belief, those monks mobilized the Lahu people to fight with Qing government. But those monks were not orthodox Buddhist monks. They developed a kind of centralized version of Buddhism among the mountain Lahu people. So it is a case. So the ritual about healing, if people are sick, that means the soul escaped from the body to go to the world of the death. So the ritual specialists have to call back the escaped soul, reset the escaped soul into the body. So the whole process is a kind of healing process. It's a kind of medical, psychological healing. And a lot of rituals just established the relationship between the world of the death and the world of living. So this is a framework to help us to understand the Lahu society. So now I will try to explain a chapter after we get the idea about how Lahu society runs based on the value system, based on the gender equality system, based on the ideal of exchange for materials between the world of the death and the world of the living. And then we can understand that because the cultural system, the social organization system among the Lahu are so different from the mainstream Han society. So there is a lot of misunderstanding from the side of the Han or Han Chinese officers, because they cannot understand the Lahu society. And therefore, but what they want to do based on local political framework is that they want to run the Lahu society as a case to climb for more and more resources through the state poverty reduction projects. So that is so important to help us to understand that even if Lahu is just a small case, but the Lahu represent a kind of type. There are so many ethnic groups living in China. Their cultures are really different from the Han Chinese. But how the state, based on mainstream society's understanding about life, could understand their style, their culture? If they can't, what they can do that, they can just run Lahu society based on certain atmosphere, just like a series commercialization, marketingization, to make more and more opportunities to climb for more and more resources from the central government, from the state. So the policy of poverty reduction is really important in recent 20 years, because the Yunnan has a population of 7 million people living in poverty based on the criteria of income per year. So the provincial government issued a lot of resources to run a lot of poverty reduced projects. And the government, the provincial government and the central government tried a lot to establish a new channel to issue resources to minority area. And also a lot of non-governmental organizations like the N I mentioned here, Oxfam in Hong Kong, they also join with them. So we can understand what happened if those movements carried out their project in Lahu or in minority area. So the poverty reduction fund from overseas NGOs also transform a lot of resources into those minority people. But those resources can be easily controlled or hijacked by local or Han Chinese cadres or local educated elite. So the Black River Township had a population of 16,000 people, but they do not have enough farming land actually. So the income and the food harvest is really lower than the ordinary level. For example, even if since 1990s, because the popularization of hybrid rice, the harvest still can just keep on the level of 270 kg per year for one person, much lower than the ordinary criteria in China. So, since 2004, the township government has begun to provide relief grant for more than 62,000 kg per year. So it is a problem for theories property. But this kind of property can be easily used by local government to claim for state-issued property, state-issued resources. For example, like other state-class poverty counties, since 1980s, poverty reduction has become the main task of the local government, the county government. During the period from 1986 to 2000, provincial government granted more than 300 million yuan to support this county government. Why? Because the county government have to support the everyday running of the government, the county government, township governments, and have to pay the salary of cadres, officers, and to pay the salary for teachers. And those kind of cost expenses is really expensive compared with local income. So local taxation income just merge about 15% of the expenses. So that is why the local government have to try to make a lot of projects, to draw a lot of projects, to claim for the resources from the provincial government and central government. So they call themselves as local officers that so-called feasibility report is a kind of Fieldwork report. It is not true, but you have to try to draw your project and use this project to claim for resources from the central and the provincial and the city government, and use this money to support the governmental running. So, because based on this project always asks the local people to perform, to join with them, to contribute their portion. For example, their labor. If they draw a project, submit a project, this project is a kind of new project of economic development, ask for the governmental investment to build a new road, to develop some new kind of fields or new technology. So the government also asks for local people to tribute their portion of labor. So based on this system, local officers have to follow this project to perform in certain degree, to perform in this project, even if they just helped the local cadres get resources from the provincial or central government. So that is a way of performance to make money from higher level government. So in order to keep the government and the school running properly, the cadres have to apply for poverty reduction project and deal with officials' inspections of those projects, because those higher level officers always come to inspect those projects. So local officers have to try to push all villagers to cooperate with them to feed those inspections, So they developed the slogan that the higher leader are the first productive force, because Deng Xiaoping said science and technology is the first productive force. But based on this policy, based on this poverty reduction policy, local government developed this idea as the higher leader are really the first productive force, because they always rely on the resources issued by higher government from the central, provincial, or city. So in summary, for a poor county, poverty reduction has already become a routine and a critical part of the work of the county and the township government. So it is a running system. So based on this running system, those villagers always pushed to get into those projects. Once the township government or city or the county government issued a new project, certain village based this, if this project is based on certain village, the villagers in this village have to cooperate with them to perform, they are doing something like that, like get into this project. But actually there's nothing. So it is really an interesting way to help us to understand the remote area, ethnic minority area, how the government can be run based on this system. And for example, there is a case that Oxfam, based in Hong Kong, carried out a project in this village. And I joined them for many years to study how they did. But I find the interesting thing is because there are relatively high allowance for duties. So the officers working in the county seat always go to the village to call people, have a meeting. And in the beginning, the villagers are willing to join with them to have a meeting to discuss about what you want to do in the next project. But later, the villagers realize that the meeting just wastes time because they want to do nothing. Why they want to do this? Because the officers of this NGO organization, they just want to get very high allowance from the office. So if they work in the village, they can get very high income. So that is why they always stay in the village to call people to join with the meeting and talk about what they want to do, but empathy in what they really want to do. So the problem is that this meeting always emphasizes the idea that people have to say something. And just it is a case that people, for example, the village said, the head of this group said that clothes are given by the Han people. The fund used to develop our economy are also given by the Han people. That means the state. And they are the people who bring money here to help us. So the foreign style that people will say that it was because we are poor and we are incapable that Oxfam come to help us. So based on those kind of endless meetings again and again, people have to accept the idea or the logic and discourse about that because we are ignorant, because we are inactable, because we are so stupid and backward. Therefore, those people come to help us. And once you talk about that, that means you have that idea, and therefore they will help you. So those kind of running process may become possible for those cadres to climb for more and more projects from the higher from higher level government or higher level organizations like NGO organization like Oxfam. And then I will drop the ethnic education here. Ethnic education is also a mechanism to highlight minority children to realize that because we are minority people, we cannot speak Han Chinese, we cannot speak Mandarin, we are ignorant, we are backward, and the Han people are really advanced. So what you want to study here is to learn how to live. So all those mechanisms push the Lahu villagers to confirm the identity is very backward and very opposing against the advanced Han Chinese. So I will jump those ideas and come to the very simple summary based on this chapter about who are the Lahu. The officers in the village and the teachers share the view that Lahu are stupid and underdeveloped and compare with the Han Chinese. And therefore, the Han Chinese come to help them. The state, the whole government, the whole system just come to support them. So it is a way of duration of ethnicity to put Han and the Lahu as two ends. And based on this mechanism, through the way of poverty reduction project, through the way of ethnic education, through the way of a state pushed commercialization on the frontier, we can understand that why identity becomes so terrible for the Lahu people, and why Lahu people are willing to commit suicide or resettle themselves to become the wives of the Han in Henan or Shandong area. So I will stop here, and we can just discuss the questions if you have any questions about that.
Okay, thank you very much. That was very interesting and also sad, but it's a good thing to learn about. So please, if we have any questions,
Yeah.
go ahead, and we'll have colleagues pass around microphones. Well, okay, to break the ice. I was very interested to hear what you had to say about Oxfam, because I'm a long-term contributor to Oxfam.
I shouldn't to point it out.
It's okay, it's okay. But no, so what I'm very interested to know is, it seems like a terrible situation. And so, other than trying to encourage Lahu people to say, no, I'm not stupid and backward and ignorant or trying to help, how could non-Lahu people support, or is it completely impossible for non-Lahu people to support Lahu people?
I join with, I should thank Oxfam, because I get a lot of familiar and convenience help from Oxfam office here for many years. But the problem, I think, is that if we want to understand China, we have to understand that the grassroots system based on villages is controlled by the government. If the outsider or organization like Oxfam want to establish a base, they cannot just turn on to establish their own authority. If you want to do something like Oxfam want to do to carry out some project, you have to establish your authority to organize people. And if you don't have that power, you have to rely on the local power. And if you cannot control the local power, you will be controlled by local power. So that is why those officers in the county actually control the Oxfam office. And because they send the representative to work with Oxfam. So the officers come from Hong Kong, just a short time visited this county for several times. And I tried to talk with him or her in different time. I think I don't know whether they know that or not. For example, in this village, people want to build a road sponsored by Oxfam. And the Oxfam spent more than $10,000. But actually, what the villagers got just for 40,000. So whether the office in the county said get other portion out, we don't know. Who in charge it, we don't know. But we know that the villagers did a lot for Oxfam. And a lot of cases of committed suicide because the Oxfam projects. So in this chapter, I get many details about the process of internal, that means based on governmental project of poverty reduction, a lot of problem created. But external organization like Oxfam also created problem because the power structure is just follow the style we cannot change.
Okay, thank you. Does somebody else have a question?
So I'm wondering if this marginalization of the Lahu people by the Chinese government, is that something that is deliberate because of whatever political reasons, or is that an unintended consequence of just bad policy?
It's so hard to answer if there is a kind of check or there is a bad policy. Because, for example, when I discuss the Christian like this with officers, local officers or Lahu people, and also myself, it looks like good. Everything like good, because you want to push people to become rich, to change your situation. But the process, why the process becomes so difficult and so hard? My understanding is about because the structure, because the power structure is based on one hand, is based on local historical framework between the Han majority and ethnic minority. Another way is that because the structure of the power in China, just like what the cadre said, that the higher leader are the real first productive power. That means the resources and the power come from the upper layer, not from the lower layer. So if we study on the lower layer, we cannot find enough space for local people who can adjust it, who can do something to show their agents. So that is a really problem for those grassland system, grassroots system. But I don't think it's so simple. What we can say that it's quite just because the bad or check, or I believe central government, their purpose is really good. But I don't think that the local cadres are good guys. Yeah, but so how to explain this situation? I think it should be seriously based on the understanding about local power structure. Why? So that is another way to help us to understand the Chinese political system. Because if we don't have ethnography like this, we cannot understand what happened in a very, very local level about those good policy but badly practiced.
Okay, thank you. There's a gentleman in the back.
Okay, I have a question about, I missed most of this, so I'll have to start off with that, but what's the interpretation by the Lahu people of this policy of the problem, and then the Lahu representative to the for the Xiaominju Congress or whatever it's called, the Lahu representative, what do they say is the problem, and then what is their platform for addressing whatever their needs are, and is it being met? And are those needs being met by the central government, or is the central government dictating what their needs really are and what their problems are, and then addressing what they care to address?
Yeah. It's really a good question. I think I'm thinking about the way why it's really rely on the layer of the elite, the Lahu elites. But the problem is that because based on the local power structure, the so-called Lahu representatives, actually they are not Lahu people. Because the state established autonomy system for minority people, but the majority of these minority representatives, they are not minority, because their opportunities have already hijacked by those Han Chinese. So if you watch the TV program or a news report, you will find those Lahu people dressed in Lahu, but they are Han Chinese. They perform Lahu for Lahu people, but they are Han. They represent their interests rather than on the Lahu side. So for the Lahu people, they are scared about this. So when I talk about, for example, some Lahu teachers and Lahu cadres officers, they even dare not to speak out that we are Lahu. I am a Lahu. Because it's quite shame to talk about you are a Lahu if you find a job in a county seat. It's quite shame. Because Lahu represent backward, ignorant. So that is a problem. That's why there's no connection between the government and local society, because the system could be hijacked or replaced by a different group. So this kind of type represent a certain problem in China. I do believe it's not just happened in Yunnan in this area, but we can also observe a lot of issues like this in Tibet, in Xinjiang, in Inner Mongolia, I believe. Because the power structure is issued the power and the resources from upper layer to the down lower layer. So someone, if you get the power from upper layer, can easily represent another group using their powers from the upper layer. So I think it's really important perspective to study the Chinese society, whether we can find something from the perspective of local society, very local. Because when we're talking about ethnic representatives, whether they are really represent the ethnic minority based on the cultural value, based on the economic interest, political interest, we don't know. For example, if we study Zedi or something else, someone else, whether he is really represent the Tibet or not, we don't know about it. We have to study in case by case, seriously. But what I find in Lahu is that the elite of the Lahu as a political representative actually hijacked by another group. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think we have time for one last question before we end this very stimulating talk. Okay. A follow-up question?
Yeah. Do you know the case of the Koreans in Yanbian? I mean, I know a little bit about that. I have a little bit of background from that, but I'm just Chinese American, Chinese Korean American, Korean from China who's an American. I'm not sure. You know the case of Yanbian?
Yeah.
Most of the representatives are also representing the Koreans are Han Chinese, right? I assume, right? And then what the Koreans from Yanbian do is a lot of have left to go to South Korea, right? And they're trying to stay there. Well, then a lot of it have immigrated to try to go to America. And what you're saying, the hijacked agenda.
I know that.
People like that.
Another type between the party, the state, and the ethnic minority is depends on the relationship between the party and the political elite in the history of Communist Party. For example, I am a Hui, and the Hui get very strong elite in China and in Yunnan. So the Hui cannot face the problem like Lahu. So some ethnic groups like the Hui, the Bai, and the Naxi people, because they get very strong elite, and they get very deep interaction with the party for a long time. So those kind of groups get more agent to get into the state. So it depends on I think it's the history of the interaction between ethnic representative with the party state, and based on the history of local society getting into the state. For example, the Dali area in Yunnan or Lijiang area in Yunnan, their political representatives are really strong. So they cannot, they will not face a problem like Lahu. They will also cannot find very high ratio of female trafficking or committed suicide like that. But I think in different, based on the degree, based on the time, for example, the early 80s, middle 80s, early 90s, and late 90s, the state policy slightly changed to deal with minority affairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. I can hear by the sounds of the student societies that it's 6 o'clock. So I want to Thank you all very much. And now to show our appreciation for Dr. Ma, our library director, Mrs. Diana Chan, will present some gifts. And then please, before you leave, fill out our feedback form so we can learn more about how you thought about this talk and any suggestions you have for future talks. So please, we have...
We just want to present a bag from the library to Professor Ma, and also some greeting card, also produced by the library.
Thank you very
so
much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, I will give you a Lahu bird tomorrow.
Okay. And thank you all very much for coming. We hope
Thank
you
you very
enjoyed the
much.
talk.
I think my Lahu friends will be happy if they know that I present the village here.